So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today we've got a question about returning to work in Illinois, a question about completing Section 2 of I-9 in Oklahoma, and finally an interesting FMLA question out of Arkansas about international FMLA. So let's get right into it. The boss is making them go back to an empty office. The company was recently acquired, and they feel that it's not anyone that's not 100% productive. The boss sends them back to the office full time, which is a heck of a. I mean, that's interesting, right? The idea might be that hey, I can get people to work faster and harder if the punishment is you have to go back to the office. And it says, well, the offices are usually empty, but they're located all over the U.S. This person who's posting says they have to go back full time, so they're being punished. And they said people don't like to be there alone and that no one will work with them. And the coworker was there alone one day, but the boss said, no, you can't go home. And so they said, well, I think this is unfair and also could be unsafe. And then finally, it says also if you're sick or have any other issue, they will no longer let you work from home on that day and make you use PTO. So I want to start off with they can absolutely do this, and I also wouldn't be entirely surprised. This is I mean, this company just bought this other company, right? And they may be seeing opportunities for offboarding employees or getting rid of unproductive employees. And it may be a form of a layoff, right? To force unproductive employees into work and they'll eventually quit. You don't have to pay unemployment, or you'll get people to move on without paying severances, for example. And so that really may be the tactic here. It's absolutely legal. They can do it. You're not unsafe, and that's silly. In addition, it's not unfair if you're not being productive. I think that that sending you back to office is a lot better than writing you up and firing you. And so using this as sort of a performance management method is interesting. I think it might be effective, although I understand why people like to work from home. The next one up is probably a little bit inside baseball with respect to HR. It's a good learning opportunity. But the question is from Oklahoma and asks if you can complete Section 2 of the I-9 prior to employee's first day. And so let's kind of articulate what that means yet. The I-9 is the federal document that articulates your work authorization in the United States, either from citizenship or residency. And it's sort of a natural outgrowth of documentation of this. And so in Section 1, the employee provides information about their status in the United States with respect to work. And in Section 2, they give over their documents proving their status, either a green card, driver's license, social security card, et cetera, et cetera. And then the employer verifies these documents and then writes it down. And so the question here is, well, can we do it before they start? Absolutely. You can do it 60 days before they start. And it's absolutely no problem to date your signature prior to start date whenever they fill out the paperwork. And, I think it's more efficient informing them ahead of time before they start work, because that clock starts ticking 3 days after hire. So by Thursday, if they don't have their social security documents, they're in a world of trouble. And that could be a problem. You obviously have to terminate them when that happens if you're past the 3 days. And so I think notifying them, making sure that they have it ahead of time. You can't take action on them if they don't have it. You can only take action, meaning you can only terminate or something if they bring in the paperwork after the start date. But besides that, I think that this is really a good thing, and I would encourage people to do this. The next one up is from Arkansas, and it talks about FMLA, and I think that this is an important thing to know. We have a lot of foreign-born workers in the United States, and it's really important. So this person works in the United States, and their parents are back in India. The dad has chronic ulcerative colitis and manages it, and now the mother has got severe back pain. And the doctor is advising 3 months bed rest. And so the OP here is asking if they could get FMLA approved for that, and says, and this is, I think, an important point. Additionally, my parents stay in rural India where hospital record keeping hardly exists. Is this a point where, that's the problem? Right. So, well, I mean, two ways. The FMLA is handled by a third party company. So to start at the beginning, assuming that this person has FMLA, they've been there longer than 3 years, supposing that the company has enough people in the area and that this employee has enough time in place to qualify for FMLA, um, this situation could uh, be covered by FMLA. It depends on ulcerative colitis and just back pain in general. That's it depends on what the condition is and the nature, but in theory, those could be qualifying events that qualify medical conditions that would provide for FMLA. Now, that said, the third party manager who manages the FMLA will need to send the doctor the paperwork. And that's where I think this could get a little bit difficult. Now, I've worked in organizations that had people go back to Laos and Mexico and El Salvador, and typically we handed them the paperwork to take to their doctor and then they would fill it out and fax it or scan it or something like that to get it back to us. I'm not sure how a third party organization would handle that handoff to make sure that the doctors get it. The trouble may be, depending on the doctor in India, is that they may not speak English. The company can require you to pay for a translation of the doctor's information in English. And yeah, I kind of remember it fondly, but I used to translate these doctor's notes from Spanish to English in one of my previous organizations, and I think that that was a lot of fun. But it's Spanish is very easy. Medical Spanish is very easy, in my opinion. But anyway, that is something that you can't that they could require from you, and that you would have to be concerned with. I really think that the third party nature of the FMLA would be the biggest problem, in my opinion. Let me know what you think down below. I hope this helps anyone who's asking these questions, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.